All right, now we're good. Cool. All right, so I'm glad that you joined me. So I'll ask you the questions, and you just answer them as you wish to. Okay.
Okay.
State your name and where did you go to school? The state, the county, the city.
Okay. My name is Rose Allen, and um, I graduate. I started school in grade school in 1951, and I graduated from high school in 1963.
Okay. Cool.
And I grew up in Carroll County, Maryland, very rural area, very segregated. So I went to, there was no kindergarten for Black children. So when I went to first grade and at the school, it was the only school for Black children in the whole county, no matter where the families lived. So it had grades 1 through 12. And so I went to that school until 8th grade. And then I remember the day that my parents heard about Brown versus Board of Education being handed down by the Supreme Court. And of course, that didn't really mean a lot to me at the time, but they decided that they were going to send me and my siblings to an integrated school. Because in Carroll County, Maryland at the time, um, they they started to build the first integrated high school in the whole county, and it was about, well, it wasn't too far from where we lived, so my
Mhm.
parents decided we would go to the integrated school. So I went to grades 9 through 12 at the first integrated school in Carroll County, Maryland, and it was horrible at first. I mean, it was really bad, very, very I mean, those that segregation was entrenched. um the first day of school, we rode a bus. A lot of the white parents came, descended on the school, yelling and screaming and pulling their children out. um I just wanted to get an education. So I was very much a loner. There, very small school. In fact, in 9th grade, it was just 3 Black girls, yeah, in the class. So, and we didn't have the same classes together. So I was very much a loner. Spent a lot of time at the library. Um, and I became very good friends with the librarian, and I volunteered. So it my high school years were not very exciting because of the climate, the racial climate. But um, I just concentrated on my schoolwork. Um, we rode a bus that dropped us off early in the morning and picked us up late in the evening because the driver had to pick up kids and take them to another school and drop them off. So we were the last ones to be picked up. So I got home kind of late, but that's the way it was. And when I graduated in 1963, I applied to uh, Morgan State College in Baltimore. Now it's Morgan State University. And when we got there, I just could not believe all of these. I had never seen so many Black people in one place in my life. So it was an adjustment. It was an adjustment. So, but I met some girls who I'm still friends with it to this day, 60 plus years later.
You actually answered my second question, so I will go to the third question.
Okay.
Yeah. How was education perceived in your community?
Okay. Education was perceived as an opportunity for you to do better than what this is what my parents would tell me. We want you kids to have it better than we did. Um, so even though we were I guess you might say we were kind of like low income or poor. We didn't know it. Nobody told us. We always had food. We always had clean clothes. We always had a place to live. But I lived in an area where it was not even inside a small town. It was outside of a small town. And on that road was, it was all Black people, families.
Mhm.
In fact, we talk about it now. We call it the road, but every family was really, really focused on children getting their education. So, and it was assumed, they knew that, for us to have it better than now my mom graduated from high school. She graduated from high school in 1939. He grew up in the next county on a farm. My dad only went to eighth grade, but my dad had a lot of wisdom. He really did have a lot of wisdom. And I know that there were times when I was doing my history homework and he would talk, and we were studying World War II, and he would talk about the rise of Hitler and Nazi Germany and all the generals and all that. So he was he listened. They read. My parents read a lot, and we didn't have TV growing up, but they read newspapers. They listened to the radio, and a lot of the other parents living on that road um, felt the same way. Now there were some of our friends, their parents worked at one of the manufacturing companies close by, so they were a little better off. But quite a few of of my generation went to college, and some went into the military. My brother went into the military, um, so it was a given. We would get our education, and they valued it. And looking back, um, I don't know how they did it. I'm a family of seven children, and so we just knew that education was a priority. My dad would say, "Are you getting your lessons? Are you getting your lessons?" Gosh, I think about that sometimes, but education was highly valued.
You keep answering the question that I have next, so I'm just gonna go to that.
Oh,
It's great. No, it's great.
maybe I
It's
need
great.
to
I love
stop.
your answers are fantastic. Was there anyone you knew that was involved in your school system who was also involved in your life in another capacity, such as like being in your church or a sports league or some other activity that you had?
Okay, now um, my family was a little different. On the road where we lived, we were a Catholic family. We grew up Catholic. My mom was a cradle to grave Catholic. My dad wasn't, but he always took us to church. So I didn't go to church with a lot of my friends on the road because they knew we were Catholic. They were Baptists or Methodists or whatever. Um, but one of my, well, two people, um, my auntie Christine, her husband was my dad's has brother, and I would uh, I would go because she lived right down the road from us, and different times I would help her with cleaning and stuff. But she gave me a really good foundation of my faith. We talked about it, and she was, oh gosh, Church of God in Christ, I think it was. And she would play Christian gospel music, and we would sing, and she would always talk to me about how important it was to be, this is her quote, to be a peach out of reach. A peach out of reach. So we talked a lot. We talked about her life because she went to college, which was kind of unusual for some of the Black people in that area, but we talked a lot. So she really impacted my life. The other person that impacted my life away from school was my mom, my one of my uncles, um, my mom's brother. And he had so much wisdom. He had been in the military um and at the time he didn't get married till late, but we would just spend hours just talking and talking, and he knew about a lot of stuff going on in the world. And because in the military, he traveled different places
Hmm.
in World War II. So so those two really impacted my life away from school. Um, the school was 12 miles away from where we lived. So I really did not have an opportunity to play on a sports team. Of course, I was only at that school until eighth grade, but sports was very popular at the school. It's just that I was not involved with them. So, but
Did
then
you
when I went to the integrated school, oh my, um, and it because there were so few of us at the school, some of the guys and a couple of the girls did play basketball. We didn't have football then. That was, back the school didn't have a football team, but basketball, um, and baseball and softball. So some did. I
mm,
didn't. It was, and for one thing, you know, because I had to ride the bus and my parents were working and they couldn't really come pick me up. So I really did not participate in sports. One of the things that I did a lot because I rode a late bus was I spent a lot of time in the library. So I was kind of like a volunteer and I loved it. I just loved it. And our school librarian was so wonderful. I mean, the resources that she had in the library were minimal, but she just made books come alive. She also, besides being the librarian, she taught history and she taught a couple of other classes. But she really, really impacted my life and opened up a whole new world to me. Now, we always had books at home, but um, I just learned about so many other kinds of resources. So it was when I was in eighth grade, seventh grade, that's when I decided I really want to be a librarian.
mm.
So it didn't happen until many, many years later, but I did. I did become a librarian. And I worked in that profession many years till I retired.
Next question I'm going to ask you: what were the benefits and disadvantages to you of going to a segregated school?
Okay, going to the segregated school, everybody knew everybody. Everybody knew everybody. And a lot of the teachers, a number of the teachers who taught there lived like, I mean, they went to college and got their degrees. They may have lived on the Eastern Shore, but they stayed in rooming houses during the week uh, so that they could, get to school to teach. And they were just, I mean, they poured their heart and soul into us. I mean, even with the little resources they had. Um, and then, of course, there would be all kinds of activities like the music. There would be music competitions, and there would be spelling bees and debates, and a lot of this stuff took place during the day. And I guess it was because everybody kind of knew everybody, and everybody supported one another, and everybody knew who was this boyfriend was, and this who broke up, and so. But of course, my I'm the middle child of seven, so I had an older brother and two older sisters, and I probably got on their nerves, but but it was just because it was just like a cohesive community. I mean, I'm telling you, those ladies who cook lunch, our lunches were amazing. And then the teachers and the coaches, they cared about us and they really wanted us to succeed. So that was the advantage of going to the segregated school. Um, I felt I belonged. Nobody was rich, but everybody came to school and everybody's parents worked and we had clean clothes, and we never, even though many of us had, with the exception of the children who lived in the town where the school was, they walked to school, but everybody else had to ride the bus because some people lived a long way away,
Hmm.
and but that was the only high school, that was only school for Black children, so it was just a given. So now, after the school closed in 1965, when integration was all over, a number of the alumni started an alumni association, and they give scholarships to Black children
Hmm.
every year. So
That's
it's
cool. Um, how did I mean, you kind of answered this question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. How did going to a segregated school impact you today? Like, how did the experience of?
oh, how did it impact me today? What I really, I really, I guess it was that foundation of really learning and preparing us to go out into the world and to pursue our dreams. They never, um, the teachers never told us, "Oh, you can't do that." Oh, no, well, you know how. No, they always encouraged us, and I just felt that, besides my parents, it was sincere. It was deep sincerity, and they really wanted us to succeed. And over the years now, and I see how some people have become college professors, and lots of people, in business, and so the graduates really were prepared. Um, Keep in mind with the limited resources, but it really did prepare me for life. Everybody
Oh,
didn't go to college, but
yeah, that's fair. When you went to the integrated school, what was the mood in the school like, and did the mood impact you positively or negatively?
okay. Well, I won't ever forget this one incident. It was the very first day of school, and when I got there, I was able to find, well, at the time we had homerooms. They don't have that anymore. We had a homeroom period. So I was able to find the classroom for my homeroom, and I took a seat, but nobody would sit beside me.
Hmm.
I mean, there were chairs, desks all around. Nobody would speak to me. But anyway, I had some wonderful teachers. One of the teachers, I even stayed friends with her long after I graduated until she passed away, really.
Mhm.
But she was my history teacher, and she would talk to me a lot after class or before class because she knew that it was not all that great. Um, and I loved history. I didn't really wasn't very good with the like the algebra and the trigonometry and all that. I did it, but my history teachers and my English teachers and my say history and English were good. And let's see, oh, and the librarian, the school librarian. She was just wonderful. She was just a wonderful person. So it wasn't all bad. It was just, it was quite a transition. Um, Now I knew that in some areas, and some of the other students who are, of course, who are now adults, like one particular guy who happens to be my cousin, he said that when he got to the integrated school. He was in, I think he was a senior. Yeah, I think he was. He said he was not really prepared with math, with like the trigonometry and the trigonometry and geometry. And so he said what they did for him was they arranged for him to take some of those classes with the low, like he was a senior, like with the 10th or 11th grade. So he took those classes with them so that um, he could get his requirements for college. So it wasn't all bad for everyone, and but it was very different. That first year was a transition. It really was because at lunchtime we would kind of get together with the other Black kids. In my case, it was just two others, and we would have lunch together and we would talk about this and that. And then of course we had different classes, but um, it was quite a transition. I would say that whole first year, and then the next year it wasn't quite so bad. And then another group of Black kids came in after me, and so it was as a whole. My high school years were okay, but nothing really that I find was very, very exciting and fun and all that kind of stuff. So,
What was your
but
initial reaction to the idea of going to an integrated school?
well, I guess I was kind of in between, um, because it was a new school, um, and my parents were all so excited about it. But then, I knew that I wouldn't see some of my friends from the segregated school, because this new school was not too far from where we lived. Um, yeah, it was a transition, but I don't have a lot of happy memories of my high school.
What
I feel like
what impact did these interactions with other races have on you and the way that you view racial issues now?
whoa, okay. You know, when when I was like 14, 15, 16, 17, that's when high school, I guess I knew that there was a lot of hatred. I knew that there were places where we were not welcome.
Mhm.
And we knew our place, I guess. And even at my church, because it was a Catholic church, even though, I mean, it was like that code of, you sit in the back, but nobody told us that we had to sit in the back. We always sat in the back of the church. Church was boring to me then, but um, we knew that there were store now. Okay, this was before I went to the integrated school. We knew that there were stores that we could not go in and try on clothes. We knew that. We knew that there were movie theaters we could not attend. So that's the way it was. We knew there were restaurants we could not go and sit down. So hanging out and there were no McDonald's at the time or Burger King or fast food places out there in the country where we lived. But we just we we just knew our place, I guess. And then after integration, uh, when we could go to restaurants, when we could go to movie theaters, we were I was very reserved. I just felt out of place. I mean, even though by law we could go to a restaurant or a
Mhm.
movie, but I was always very apprehensive. In fact, there is one theater which is no longer a theater now, but it's an arts center now, in the town where the segregated school was. And all these years later, when I go to plays or performances or like they have Black History programs, whatever, when I step my foot over the threshold of that theater, those memories come back
Mm.
because we were not welcome there at one point in time. And it's like I regress back, even though it's
Mm.
different now, but those memories are still here.
That's real. So you've answered kind of these other two questions just from the way that you not, and that's not a negative thing. Please don't think that's negative, because they were like, have you had a teacher of a different race? Have you had a teacher of the same race? And of course you have, because you went to both schools, and
Yes.
even if you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So this next question kind of ties into the thinking behind that, and that is, did you feel that the teachers slash faculty were fair towards you compared to the other races in the class?
You mean at the integrated school?
Yes, more so at the integrated school. Yes.
Okay. I really have to say that the teachers were very fair. Um, they uh, were not prejudiced at all. Um, you know, I have to say that they their job was to teach everyone.
Hmm.
Now, I was a fairly good student. I had to work real hard. I had to study hard. But I remember when oh, I guess we were studying about the Civil War and that period. And I remember my history teacher calling me aside and after class, and she said, I'm going to try to teach this in a way that's not going to point fingers or anything like that. She said, I will be very unbiased. And I thought, oh, okay, whatever. As a 10th grade student, ninth grade student, some things really didn't bother me, others did. And eventually, I have to say, after that first freshman year, some of the girls did start talking to me. And, because we would have to do projects together or do presentations together. So, in the classroom at school, they were okay. But if I would see them out, outside the school, um, like shopping or something like that, they wouldn't talk to me, but that didn't bother me. So, yeah, I my teachers were very good. I have to say that they were very, very, they were very concerned because they knew they could feel all the tension and all that stuff, but they just wanted to teach. So
Did integration somehow change your view or understanding of what being Black in America meant to you at that time and even
at
now?
the time, it did not very much. Um, Gosh, but fast forward, whew,
Mm.
um, and I think I was kind of an introvert. Um, I was a loner. Um, I was not open to approaching others and starting a conversation with some of these kids. So, we had to work together at different times, but I was still very much a loner. But I guess after I went to college, I, looking back at that time, I thought, oh, gee, why didn't I say this or why didn't I say that or this? But but yeah, but now, oh my. And when I talk to my grandson and Granny, did you have to do that? You mean you could? So anyway, it it was it was very different. But I'm just very thankful for that good um foundation that I had at the at the integrated school. I tried, I worked hard in high school and when graduation came around, it just hit me. I wouldn't see some of those people probably again for the rest of my life. But I did eventually about 10 years ago. Well, no, nah. They started an alumni group for a class of 1963. Who I joined because we also give a scholarship every year. So, but yeah, integration, pros and cons.
Pros and
Pros
cons.
and
Was your academic progress you feel slowed about the same or increased once you started attending an integrated school?
oh, oh, I think once I started going to the integrated school, it was just because we had so many more resources, and
Hmm.
see a lot of what was taught, the curriculum was was expanded. So I was exposed um, to more points of view, I
Hmm.
guess. But it was I really did learn. In fact, I tell my grandchildren now, I will always be a learner. I will always be a learner because I find it very exciting. And then, by my chosen profession, working as a librarian and having to go to graduate school, getting my master's, and then helping the. I was in a public library, but I worked very closely with the teachers at some of the public schools. So yeah, I really felt that uh, my whole outlook was expanded because of so many more types of resources, books, so many more books. And now when I think about, how everything has changed with all the internet and computers and all that good stuff, but yeah, it was. It was positive in certain ways because of exposure that I had to so many different types of resources.
What were the conversational exchanges like between you and your parents when it came to your experience in the integrated school? Like the fact that it was a new situation, did they ever go up to the school and talk to the faculty, or did that ever
Oh,
have
you
to
mean my
happen?
parents? Did you?
With your parents, yeah.
Well, I know that I don't know if my parents ever had an opportunity to do that because they worked and I had younger siblings. But they would come, like if we had I remember when I we had like a ninth or 10th grade chorus. And I did sing on the chorus. And I remember they would come to those kind of activities. But I don't recall them ever having a conference with the teachers.
Hmm.
Now I know one of the girls in my class, oh my, she didn't take anything. I mean, somebody would say something to her, she would be up in their face. So I think maybe uh, the principal had to call her parents in once. But my parents, I don't. They never really. They came to the activities, but they were never. They never had to do a disciplined talk with the teachers about me because I was a good girl. I did not want to be in trouble. But, but just like now, they have the parent teacher conferences. Um, but I don't recall they ever did because they had work.
Do you feel that integration ever fully happened, like in American life?
Well, yes, and yes, I do think it happened. But yes, I think we've kind of gone full circle, kind of back. Um, because it just seemed like some of the things now, I mean, when I think about how the laws are being passed, for to suppress voting, I mean, our parents and grandparents had to work hard, and a lot of them really had to kind of fight. and they just to get basic things. But and I guess I remember like when Roe v. Wade was passed, and now that is gone. Um, some of those, it just seems like there's a rise of that white supremacy again. I mean, with these groups, um, they they are becoming very powerful. And I think about what happened on January 6th. I think about how all of the negativity last year when our first Black Supreme Court justice was, they were interviewing her. I mean, this woman is so brilliant. I just finished reading her book.
Mhm.
Um, oh, and not, and when President Obama became president, I just wish my mother and father could have been alive.
Yeah.
But I think we've gone backwards in some ways because there's that element of, we don't, they don't want us to, uh, I mean, it's just a, a hatred. It's that, well, how should I say it? For many, many years, it was not overt, but I think with the election of Donald Trump, it's in your face.
Mhm.
So we're kind of like regressing, and that's disturbing. So I have been an election judge for many years now, and I just talk to other young people. Get registered. Because of the high schoolers, particularly those who are like 17 and 18, getting ready to go to college. Get registered. Get registered. So, if we stay away from the polls, oh, my vote isn't going to matter. Well, then we're going to be stuck with what we got. So I really feel that some of the rights were that we had fought they fought so hard to get them, and now some of them are disappearing. So we've got to stand up. We've really got to educate ourselves. We've and encourage our younger generations.
I'm gonna go back to the teachers for a second. And you could, if you answer this a certain way, I'm sure that you could answer all of the three follow-up questions about teachers. But we'll see. Did the teacher slash faculty's attitude towards you impact your view on education?
I'd say yes to that. The teachers in the segregated school as well as the teachers in high school. I really do. I remember the guidance counselor, that was the title we used. And I remember how she would, when we were like in 11th grade, and she really talked a lot about, like the SATs that we had to take and the ACTs, and she was very, very encouraging. She would even invite some of the reps from some of the colleges to come and talk to us.
Mhm.
And I have to say that they really wanted us to succeed. They really did. So I don't have anything ill to say about any of my teachers. I mean, I love my teachers in the segregated school, but the ones they really cared about us succeeding.
Mhm.
I really feel that they did, and I don't think I had any teachers that I really didn't like, because they were all very, very kind, and they really wanted us to succeed and to pursue a career. So
Do you
yeah, the
feel
principal wasn't all that great, but
I guess I don't have that question down. Let me, do you feel the teachers could relate or understand you and your educational intentions?
I think to a point, yes. But again, they were all Caucasian. They
Hmm.
were all Caucasian. And so I really don't think they probably could relate to some of the kinds of things that we had to go through. I know that there were just so many hours in the day and they had multiple classes they taught, um, but I guess wasn't until I finished high school and college that and I remained friends with this my history teacher. And sometimes we would have lunch together. And we really did not talk a lot about the climate of the high school when I was there. Um, I guess it was a little different at the time, just relating to someone who was my teacher back then, and that then relating as an adult, one on one as an adult. But she was just a very, very sweet person, and she invited me to her home, and and then there was another teacher that I had that um, she was so very nice too. I think she taught me civics. Um, and I met with her a couple of times after I became an adult as well, after I finished college. So, but I really don't think they did. Deep down, I don't think they could relate to um, what we all had to go through. Now, the ones who played sports, that was different. I guess they had a different experience, particularly the guys and the girls who played basketball, because basketball was a big thing at this high school. Um, but I didn't, I was not into sports. So,
What was
uh,
what was your favorite memory from an interaction with the teacher, and or maybe worst memory, whichever one stands out more? What was the
you mean
biggest
in
memory?
high school?
Anytime,
Oh, and
but you can go to high school if you want to. You can take this controversial, or you can take it happy, whichever one you want to go. I know I would take it. I
well,
would take it controversial myself, but I mean, whatever.
well, I remember in high school, one of the teachers arranged for us to go to Baltimore to see a play. I had never seen a play before in my life on the stage. So that was exciting. It was on a Saturday, and I remember it had snowed, and we didn't know if we were going to go. So that was when we rode a bus. And so I think that was my English teacher. Um, so that was a lot of fun. Now, when I was in grade school, going to the segregated school, in Maryland, we could not go to amusement parks.
Hmm.
But but um, one of the I guess it was the gentleman who owned a bus because he had he would pick kids up during the school year, but he arranged for us to go to an amusement park in Pennsylvania. Hanover, Pennsylvania is not that far from the area where we live. So I remember I was so excited. We were able to go to this amusement park, and I was just in awe of all the rides and all of the kid, what what do you call that? Cotton candy and all of the vendor. Oh, it was so exciting. And he took that trip once a year. It was usually the day after the last day of school. So it probably took us maybe an hour to get there. We got on the school bus and we spent the day at the amusement park. First time ever I was on a roller coaster. I thought I was going to die, but so that's a wonderful memory that I have from grade school.
All right, hard pivot. We're gonna do more existential questions. Did you ever feel you represented all Black people in school? And if so, how did that impact you?
Well, I have to say, I don't think I did, not in high school or grade school. Uh, but when I went to an HBCU school
Hmm.
for college, but I didn't graduate from there. I graduated from I had moved to Illinois at the time, and I graduated from a college in Illinois, and then went on to graduate school. But I'm trying to think if there was ever a time um, that I felt that I had to represent. Well, oh, I guess I was done college and working, and I don't even know how the conversation came about because most I worked in a library where there were very few Black people. I was one of the few. And what was that conversation? I can't recall what this conversation was. And the girl, the young lady said, um, "What do most Black people think about that?" And I said, "I don't know. I know what I think about it,
Hmm.
but I don't know what other." I just felt she was inferring that I represented all Black people. I wish I could remember what the conversation was, but so that was a time when I thought, how dare you? I mean, I'll tell you how I feel, but I don't know how other people feel.
Have you experienced or felt or seen a stigma attached to Black students doing well in school?
A stigma attached to Black students doing well
In
in
school.
school. Is that what you said?
Hmm. Have you seen that or
I did not
experienced?
see that, but I read about it, and I've read a lot about it, and I've seen like and on the news and that kind of thing. That or they're acting white, or they're talking white, or and we don't want any parts of that. But I did not really run into that in my high school years. Uh, but I know in some areas it is a big thing. Uh, what is the term they use? Code switching, or
Uh,
talking one way when you're with your friends and the other. So, and I've also, because some of my friends have been teachers, and particularly those who teach in urban areas. Apparently, it's a stigma attached to trying to talk white, or that kind, or looking down just because somebody speaks well. They're trying to be white. So, but I never ran into that.
do you feel that your generation values education as essential to their lives? Why or why not?
I mean, now do I? I do. I really feel that they do. And I guess I'm just thinking about some of the children of adult children now, my friends and my outward circle and my church and what have you. Um, but I really, yeah, these students now, they know their focus, they know what they want to do. One young lady, I knew her mom when she was little, but she decided that she wanted to go into social work.
Hmm.
She finished she finished her undergrad at a private school, and now she's in graduate school at the University of Pitt. So some of them are very, very, they know what they want to do. Some, not all, um, but I just feel that the students have so many opportunities now, and education is very expensive. And a lot of students, there, a lot of the young people are they're very good students, so they're getting scholarships, they're getting grants and what have you. Um, and believe it or not, there's a lot of money out there. There's really a lot. They just have to know how to be guided as to where to go. I used to tell the students when I was still working, uh, just apply for this. And just a few years ago, I tried to encourage my nephew. He wants to be a veterinarian, and he is in college now at the University of North Carolina at Raleigh. So after his freshman year, I said, why don't you apply to some of the veterinarian associations
Hmm.
so that to see if they have any grants? Um, and I think he did because last year he said he had gotten all of his money, grant scholarships, except like $15,000. So there's so many opportunities for them to really pursue their education. Um, I know some of the students are going into like the military academy, like West Point and the Naval Academy and the Air Force Academy. So they've got so many options up there now. Now, college isn't for everyone. And I think about that for my youngest son, because I knew he was kind of like a late bloomer. I knew that. But when he was in 11th grade, he says, Mom, I'm not really ready for college yet. And I knew that. So he said, I think what I'm going to try to do, if I pass all the exams, he said, I've been talking to the Navy recruiters. I'm going to go in the Navy, which my husband was a Navy veteran. And so that's what he did. And then after he got out of the Navy, he went to college on the GI Bill. So, you know, there are just all kinds of tracks there. So, and again, I'm only, I live in a suburban area, of Frederick, right outside of Frederick, and I know that my circle is not so great because I'm retired now. And I'm involved with church and all that kind of stuff. But the kids, the students, they've got opportunities, whether or not they take advantage of them. But I know some of these kids work hard trying to keep good grades up, belonging to National Honor Society and doing all kinds of volunteer work and getting scholarships. So the opportunities are there.
What do you feel is the number one reason for the academic achievement gap between blacks and other races?
Yes. You know, I know that in different areas there's still a lot of poverty in some areas, particularly areas of color. And I think about one of my friends who was teaching in the inner city schools in Baltimore City. She didn't teach high school; she taught grade school, and she said the children were coming to school hungry. So
Mhm.
she said she just took a microwave and a refrigerator. She bought a microwave and a refrigerator and kept it in her room, and the kids had breakfast. I know a lot of schools offer breakfast and free lunch, but she said children cannot learn if they're hungry. Um, Now, I do know that there are other factors involved, like in some areas, there's no public transportation. So, if they have to worry about taking two or three buses or if they have to walk and it's cold, um, maybe in certain areas there may not be a public library. I know that a number of the schools have after school programs.
Mhm.
Um, but COVID was a game changer. And because I know a lot of the students, like the high school students, had to take care of their younger brothers and sisters. So they didn't have really time to do their homework and do, maybe they didn't have a computer at home. But even before that, I think there's just a lot of factors involved. There's in some areas there's a lot of single parent families, um, and the children don't have the luxury of having two parents to raise them. Um, and I guess on the other hand, some make choices that are not good. So, but there's definitely a gap there. But I see a lot of involved parents. I mean, I used to volunteer at my grandson's school. It was a private school. Um, I would say it was 90% Black. There were some Caucasian kids there, but they had an after school program, aftercare, because a lot of the parents didn't get off work until later.
Mm-hmm.
Some parents didn't get off work till 6 o'clock, 6:30. We had aftercare until like 7 o'clock. Um, in some areas, I guess some of the kids they have latchkey kids. They go home and let themselves in. And so I think there's a lot of different factors involved there. Um, and I know that a lot of times parents, particularly if it's a single parent, they really want their children to succeed, but they've got to work to survive, to feed them and clothe them. And everyone doesn't have grandparents close by
Mm-hmm.
or families, extended families to help out. I know a number of families have to move where the job is, so they may not know their neighbors. I mean, so many things. But I really feel that a lot of the parents do as best as they can.
Do you feel do you think that the integration of schools worked for Black students?
I would say, I would say with integration, we did lose some things.
Hmm.
We did lose something, that cohesiveness of the community. In the Black communities, particularly here in Frederick, I know that during segregation, there were only certain areas in Frederick where Black people could live.
Mhm.
Okay. Those communities were very insular. They had doctors, they had dentists, they had grocery stores, they had clothing stores, they had churches.
Mm.
It was a community. It was like, and different generations. It was a community. So um, it wasn't a big issue. No, they couldn't go down on Market Street and try on clothes, but they had clothing stores right there in their communities.
Mhm.
So, and again, with the schools, even though the schools may have been segregated, the teachers lived in the community.
Mhm.
So the teachers knew the parents. So if you were acting the fool, believe it, when you got home, the parent would know it. But so I guess that sense of community, that nurturing, was kind of lost with integration.
Do you believe the American education system is currently constructed is fair for all people?
Oh no, I don't think it's fair for all people. Um, and I say that because historically, a lot of the history books, they did not have um, information about things like, I mean, case in point, I had never heard about Greenwood until about maybe 4 or 5 years ago,
Hmm.
the race riots. Um, and how this place was, very prosperous community, and how because of white supremacy and all the hate, it was bombed. And not necessarily just that. I mean, there were other places too. That stuff was not in history. I never heard about the Green Book until about maybe 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And, this certainly, when Black people wanted to travel, particularly South, there are places they could not go. They could not sleep. So, the author put this book together, and there were places that they could eat, rooming houses, they could, gas stations, because some gas stations they couldn't. But so a lot of information was not in history books. I know in a lot of the schools now, they a lot of the materials online, and the students have to submit their papers, whatever, online.
Mhm.
But I know it wasn't there then, and now in a number of places where different states where teachers are restricted as to what they can teach, and books that they cannot use, books that are banned, and in places where sometimes they threaten teachers and they threaten librarians. So um, it is it's very disconcerting to me, because historically, how a lot of the Black achievements and was not there in the books. It was not there. So, and I guess out of fear, now they still can't in certain states they still can't teach. Like, oh, where was that? Where they it was the AP course on Black history, and they pulled it or something like
It
that.
was Florida, but we'll go on.
Florida.
Yeah, we'll go on. There's no need to. We're at the last three questions, so I'm gonna try to get these off. Based off of your experience, what do you think would improve the school system in America at all levels?
Okay, at all levels. You know, another thing that we're having to deal with in society now is the violence in the schools. The proliferation of guns and weapons, and um, students coming to school, being so upset about this or that, and coming to school and shooting and killing. And um, I would say I really feel that, and school budgets are impacted in in a major way in certain areas, because schools are funded by public funds, tax dollars.
Hmm.
I really feel that schools need more professional people who are social workers, and um, some schools don't have security guards. Some schools are very, very safe because they can afford to have the security. Um, but there's a lot of, I think, mental health issues going on. I know there's a lot of, some schools don't have like special needs teachers. Um, Gosh, there just seems to be disparities. I mean, a school that is in a very affluent area is high tech, has everything.
Hmm.
Well, some of the other schools don't even have air conditioning. And I'm thinking about like I've heard in Baltimore City, where my friend used to teach. Some of the schools don't even have air conditioning. And in the wintertime, the furnace does not work too well. So the kids have to keep their coats on. I mean, there just seems to be a disparity, an economic disparity in certain areas. Um, but I think it's not all up to the teachers. I think parents have really got to be involved. They've got to make noise, attend the school board meetings, you know. Um, and then find out when it's election time comes, find out what these what their platforms are, because a trend now seems to be in certain areas. They are People want to get on the school board so that they can, um, you know, pull books out of the library or whatever. But I really think that parent involvement is vital. Um, I don't know if
All right.
that.
Well, we'll go with the second to last question. What can the Black community do to improve Black academic standing?
Okay, the Black community do. I think we've got to pick up the baton. Okay, if we know that our children are not getting enough, like are not really proficient in math,
Mhm.
whatever, maybe we need to find out. Okay, is there anybody in our community who can might want to tutor the kids in math? Okay, if the schools are not or reluctant about doing programs for Black history, well, maybe we can do some things in our church or in our community centers. I still think we need to be involved. It's great for grandparents like me. We have some time. We if these resources are not available, if their kids are not good, let's do it in our communities. Let's do it in our communities. Let's encourage the kids to do volunteer work. Um, I don't know about other places, but I know in the area where I go to church, all the schools, the students have got to have so many hours of volunteer hours before they graduate.
Mhm.
Now, whether that's volunteering at a park or volunteering at a hospital or carrying books or trays of food, um, maybe volunteering at the art center because there's a wonderful art center, all kinds of places where they can have exposure, and get volunteer hours. But we've got to do it. We've really got to become more of a community and provide pull our resources. One
Yeah.
of the things I love doing is going to the schools and doing a story hour and reading books to kids. I love doing it. And kids they really love storytelling in books, but that's one of the things I love doing, just reading. So just we've got to come together. And I know that I had heard about this a couple of years ago. A community um, of parents, they hired they hired a retired teacher to tutor the kids as they were prepping for their ACT uh, exams. I don't know. I've heard that some of those courses the parents have to pay for,
Mhm.
or if they want to do the practice test. I'm not sure. But so, doing it at our churches, community centers, maybe in someone's home, we really have got to pool the resources and just to encourage our kids and take them on trips. We don't live that far from DC, right? I don't know where you live, but here in Frederick, we're not far. So let's take the group of the kids down to the museum, the African American Museum. A nice day, lunch there. Um, or just to take them on a hike. We did this with some of the kids at my church. We hiked through Patapsco State Park and falls and what. It was a fun day. So, and then you can talk about the rock formations and all the different kinds of oil. You can really turn it into a fun learning lesson. So what we do, uh, we've got to pick up the ball here and do it. We've great for grandparents too.
Last question. How has your educational experience impacted your life?
My goodness. Well, I think I mentioned a little while ago that when I was in seventh grade, I decided that I really wanted to be a librarian.
Mhm.
Well, you know, I I was really when I started learning about how much education that I would need. Yeah, I didn't get my degree for a while till later in life, but that was my goal. That was my goal because I went to I went to to the HBCU school just for 1 year. I dropped out. I got married. I had children, and I went back later. Um, so I knew, and when I got my first job at a library, I I was like an assistant, and so I wasn't really getting that much money. But I knew I had to get a master's, so
Mm.
I went. I worked full time, and I went to school at night. And when I got my master's, I was already working at a library, so I never lost my focus. That was my dream. I wanted to become a librarian, and I knew back then that it would there were no black librarians when I was except my school librarian. My school librarian was black, but anyway, that when I finally finished, got my degree and my master's, and a position opened up at the library where I was working. And I'm telling you, that was the hardest interview that I'd ever had in my life. But um, but it was my goal, and I thank God for allowing me to stay focused because that was my dream job. I had a lot of responsibility. Not just it wasn't just checking out books, but doing a budget, learning how to do a budget, and going how to collection management. All of that's involved, but it um, it was my dream,
Well,
and I'm very thankful that I was able to pursue that dream. And now I'm retired, and now I volunteer.
I'm thankful that you did this interview. It was fascinating and fantastic.
Oh,
Thank you
thank
so
you for
much.
asking me.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. I'll stop recording, but we can talk for a second. Hold on.